What it do, what's the deal, what's good, y'all? This is Shane Kidd.
And this is Charlene Kidd, and welcome back to our channel, Conscious Creatives ATL.
Mindful living, meaningful work.
We are so excited to wrap up this fifth session of cognitive distortion. So we've been looking at unhelpful and unhealthy thinking styles. So we've gone over 4 different sets over the last 4 weeks, and now we are finalizing it with our 5th week.
Yeah.
This week, we're going to be looking at magical thinking and labeling.
Yeah. And so just particularly with all these cognitive distortions that we've shared about, these are different ways that our mind seeks to, in a sense, go on a defensive mode in one aspect of it and begin to, in some form or fashion, rationalize like some sort of situation into some way that it can be processed to make sense. And what's important it always is making sure that we do our best to keep a holistic picture with the information that we gather in our times that we engage these thoughts. And so when it comes to something like mislabeling, it is about, those moments where it happened maybe like 1 or 2 times, and then it becomes the whole identity of something. So, someone says something like they get quiet on you and they didn't pay attention to you. You can easily just assume that they don't like you. You can also just have a couple of times where someone is late and then you're just like, man, they unreliable. Or you could, in a sense, feel like something is not successful just the first few times and you're like, I'm trash at this. It's like, I'm a fake, I'm a fraud. And when, you not being able to accomplish those things those times, that's true, that's valid. And what's also valid is that, that's not the whole story. There is more to the story. And so, again, being willing to try again, open up to new opportunities, and be able to have more experiences to really gather a true litmus test of like, what is it that you're experiencing in certain aspects of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So mislabeling is one that you take on, or you believe in whatever that label is, even though it only ascribes maybe 1, 2, maybe even 3 scenarios, but you present it as though it's fact, right? So for example, you lose your job and then you consider yourself a failure instead of thinking, well, people lose their jobs. Like sometimes that happens for whatever reason. I remember when I actually got laid off from a job after working there for 4 days. Basically they told me I didn't have enough years of experience to actually even get the job. So they weren't sure how I got the job, but the lady knew that I had just graduated a few months before that. But anyway, so they were coming in to clean house and they decided that they were going to let me go, even though I had just started 4 days before that. And it would have been very easy. Well, I will admit, I did take it very personally and cried a lot because I had never been fired before. And I just thought that I had done something wrong. Something was wrong with me. And they even told me, after you get 5 years experience under your belt, you can come back and reapply. And I was like, why would I reapply somewhere where y'all just fired me? I wasn't fired, I was let go. I don't really know what the difference is. But anyways, so it would have been very easy to take that as, oh, I'm not meant to be in this field. Oh, I'm a failure. Like, I'm not good at this. But instead, I just was able to, after a while, it did take me a little bit to get over it, but after a while I was able to essentially get back on the horse and get back into this field and really try other jobs that were a better fit for me. That did work out, and there was no letting go after that. But you don't want to internalize and say, oh, it's because of this that I'm like this because of this, or this happened because of this, or that person is like that because they've done X, Y, and Z once or twice. And so you want to be careful about putting a label on things because you've only seen it a couple times. that excludes like red flags about people.
Yeah.
Obviously
there are certain things like it happens once. Yeah. Just let it go.
Right. If you're in a relationship and someone hits you, like we're not gonna say, oh, that's not who they are. That's who they are. Just get out of that situation.
Yeah.
But in other instances where it's not harmful to you, or it's not harmful to that person or detrimental to that person, we want to consider, am I labeling this person and presenting this as factual, or is this something that might have happened once or twice and I need to just kind of talk to them about it, or kind of talk to myself through it?
Yeah. If it's causing you harm, you don't need no litmus test. That is it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing about many things in this field, where we have to be able to identify some of these clinical terminologies. They don't cover all of these things. Like there are sometimes positives and negatives. Say, for example, the next word that we're looking at is magical thinking. And magical thinking can be a positive thing in the sense that you can essentially use it for comfort. It can be something to kind of help you cope in situations, but it also has a negative side. And the negative side of magical thinking is thinking, well, if I believe this hard enough, the outcome is going to be like this. We are not at all poking or picking at people who believe in like manifestation, because to some extent I do believe if you like really try to work towards something, it's very possible for it to come to be.
We're all here for positive affirmation and people having the self-confidence to believe that they can achieve their goals, their aspirations and desires. And so in that aspect of it, definitely always be willing to, think of yourself in a sober way, in a way that, pushes you forward in being the best person that you can.
Right. In the things that you can control. And when it comes to magical thinking, we're really looking at things that you actually cannot control the outcome, but you're choosing to say, well, if I try hard enough, or if I do this, or if I do that, this is how it's going to end up, even though realistically you have no control over the outcome. And so, for example, applying to a job, like you can say, I really want this job and I think it's good. I'm definitely going to get this job. This job is meant for me, but you're not hiring yourself. So there's no guarantee. Yes, go in there with a positive attitude, believing that you can get that job. But if it does not work out that way, don't negatively take on something about that, when the truth is you really had no control over the outcome of you applying for that job. The only thing that you could do is apply and answer when they called you for an interview and do your best to prepare for the interview. That does not guarantee you the job. Magical thinking would be you saying, oh, I'm gonna get this job. If I believe hard enough, I'm gonna get this job. And the truth is that doesn't always work out that way. Like we said, positive affirmation, we're all for it, like really hoping that you get the job, but just knowing that there is a possibility that it does not work out the way that you want it to work out, and not internalizing that and making it something negative about you when it doesn't work out that way, if it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, definitely. You put it best, dear. And so just definitely with the aspect of working through all these cognitive distortions that we talk about, it's like one of the biggest things that it's important to realize is, life cannot be manipulated. It can only be managed. And so with that being the case, it's up to us to be good stewards of ourselves, our minds, in a way that prepares us for situations as best as we possibly can. It's like, again, we cannot control the weather. At the same time, I can carry an umbrella, so when it does rain, it's like I'm ready for it. I can have a rain jacket. Or, if I'm in my car, I can turn on my windshield wipers and wipe away the rain, so that way I'm not being caught up in the rain, and then next thing you know, I'm in an accident. Nobody wants to be in an accident. And so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason that we thought it was so important to go over these cognitive distortions, or we've also called them unhealthy or unhelpful thinking styles. It's just a way of thinking that can have a negative impact in your life if you allow it to control your life in a negative way. It can impact you. And this unhealthy way of thinking really can lead to anxiety and depression. And it's just an opportunity for you to really process through, like we said in the beginning, everybody has some type of unhealthy or unhelpful thinking style that just kind of is like an automatic thing. And for some, it doesn't really impact you to the extent that you're struggling with anxiety or that you're struggling with depression. And you're really noticing the way that you talk to yourself in your thoughts is making you feel even worse. So this isn't to say that everybody is going to be impacted by this in the same way. But if you do feel like this is something that's impacting you, if you notice that a lot of the ways that you're thinking, the things that you say to yourself, how you feel about yourself, makes you feel worse or leads to more depression or leads to more anxiety, or you feel like you're putting a ton of pressure on yourself to be a particular way, you have to be like this or you should be like this, or if it's not like this, then the problem is this. There's so many ways that these can impact you in a negative way, and that's why we wanted to really talk about this, because if that is something that you're noticing, it's important to be able to connect with a professional therapist, professional counselor, whatever however you choose to identify them, but to connect with a professional who's able to talk through these things with you and help you identify some of the unhealthy and unhelpful ways that you've been thinking that can contribute to your anxiety and your depression.
Yeah, because again, life, just like, going back to the weather analogy, it's not always sunny. And so there are days that the weather changes. Some days are, nice, warm days where we're able to enjoy the sunshine. Sometimes it rains, and in those rainy moments, it can get challenging for some people, or, I'm from the South, and so I don't experience snow a lot. For those of y'all that may experience snow, y'all know that snow can cause challenges in those situations if you're not prepared to be able to adjust or adapt. And so, again, sometimes we need help in being able to make those adjustments and adapt to the changes in the weather of our own emotions in life.
Absolutely. And that truly is the key, is to be flexible in our thinking, to be able to adjust and to adapt. And the problem with some of these unhealthy and unhelpful ways of thinking is that you struggle to really adapt and adjust in situations that cause you to feel anxious, or that cause you to feel stressed, or that cause you to feel sad. When those kind of feelings start to come up and you're struggling to even change the way you're thinking about those situations, because as we said before, the cognitive triangle, the way that you think impacts the way that you feel, and the way that you feel impacts the way that you behave. And if you can adjust either of those, either your thoughts, your feelings, or your behaviors, you can make a lasting change in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And we hope that this series has been helpful to you, and that you can take this series and begin to just develop a sense of self-awareness and be able to know, be able to catch yourself in those moments and be able to direct and adjust and adapt, as we just mentioned, in those times. And so, we appreciate y'all, and comment, and subscribe. And so we look forward to seeing y'all the next time.
All right. Peace.
Peace.